Have you ever gotten a little stressed like me when it comes time to gluing up a project, especially a large glue up that has to stay flat? Well, I've got some points for you. I'm calling it the 5 secrets of getting great glue ups. Stick around. Great, so let's get into it. We're gonna glue up actually tonight, for real, some large parts for this bench project that we've got going right now. We've got a workbench top like this, except much larger than this little model. So it's actually, the bench is 7 feet long and it's made up of like 9 strips of 2.5 inches thick by 1.5 inches wide. And they've got to be glued up across the top and then with the dog holes in the front. But anyway, I've got to do this whole glue up, and I got to thinking this would be the perfect opportunity to show you some of the things I'm always thinking about and running through my mind about how to get a successful, great glue up. So before we head to the glue up table way over there, I'm going to just talk for a second about glues. And probably the most common is the good old standard PVA glue, the yellow glue. This one's by Titebond. I pretty much use all Titebond, probably most of you too. It's such a great glue, and it's ubiquitous here in the US. So the original wood glue has a lot of strength to it, but it doesn't give you a lot of working time, which is usually good for a lot of situations because you want it to tack up, grab, and be there, and so you can get on with the job. But it is also water-based, which makes it easy to clean up. But because of that open time, I'm a little nervous to use it on a big project like this, where I have to spread a lot of glue. Now, I'm not doing the entire top. The mids of this top consists of 9 boards across. That'll be a lot to get all clamped up and glued up in one shot. And this project's gonna be done in 2 halves. So it'll be 4 and 5 strips, so I can then flatten them between the final glue up. So I'm just gonna show you one of those sets, but in order to be more calm and relaxed, we're not gonna use a glue like this that has a short open time. And by open time, I mean the amount of time you have with the glue on the wood before you get the clamps on. There's another number called assembly time, and that's when you should have all your clamps on, because it's not gonna move much after that. So this one, it only has about a 10 to 15 minute top assembly time, and it just gets too thick for what we need. So we're not gonna use Titebond Original. We could use this other product though that Titebond came out with, I don't know, not too long ago, because I hadn't seen it on the market for a few years ago, but it's Titebond Extend. And all that is it's the original Titebond with an additive that gives you longer open working time. So all the attributes and qualities of the typical PVA glue that's water-based, it dries fast, it grabs, but it gives you longer time, so you can almost chill out. So this gives you up to like 25 minutes of assembly time. Open time is around 10 to 15. I should have memorized that, but anyway, it's equivalent to this other, I feel like I'm doing a commercial. They're not sponsoring this one by Titebond 3 by, they call it their ultimate wood glue. And that's really because it's so versatile. In most situations, I've been using Titebond 3, as you've seen, for a long time. What's great is it's waterproof, and you can use it on interior material. I didn't mention that about the original, but it's not for outdoor applications. Now, I'm not doing it outside, so I don't care if it's waterproof. This is a great glue. But if you think you're gonna walk outside with your workbench, then you might want to use Type Bond 3. The neat thing about this is that it's got the long open time, like the Extend with no additives. It just has that. And it gives you the equivalent time, working time as the Type Bond Extend. And rating-wise, it's a little stronger of a bond than the original, but honestly, the bond is so much stronger even than the fibers to themselves that it really is negligible. So, waterproof or Type Bond Extend? Well, they did send me this gallon. I asked if they had any, and they were kind enough to send it. So I'm going to use the Type Bond Extend. Now, it's pretty thick. That's one thing I noticed about it. It's more viscous. It's a little thicker to get on the work than this. So in what I've read, you can thin it down as much as 5% without changing any of the properties. So when you do that, you're just going to add a little water if you need to and stir it in, and you'll get a little thinner application. I did add a little bit to but I didn't really notice much difference. I don't think I went quite as far as the 5%. But let's set that aside. And last thing I want to show you is a little test I did. I was wondering too about which glue to use for potential seeing the line. Sometimes you don't want to use a super dark glue on light wood, because if you do have a joint that's not quite perfect, you're going to have a darker line maybe showing up there. Now, all our joints are going to be perfect, so we're not really worried about that.
Of course. Are there any other kind?
I noticed one or two underneath that were a little bit open that bothered me. But I did a little test here, and I clamped these boards. You may not be able to see, but there's a seam in the middle. I put the Type Bond Extend on this side and the Type Bond 3 on this side. I didn't clean the glue off on this side so you could see. This is how they look when they dry. The Type Bond 3, you can see, gets to a medium dark brown. And the Type Bond original with Extend, or the regular, is this more of a pale yellow color. Now, this stuff, you can tell that the properties of the Type Bond Extend are quite brittle and hard. I like that about the glue, that it's more rigid when it cures. This 3 is also, but if I had, I can peel it up a little easier, where this is just going to snap. So it's honestly either or in this application, but I went with the Type Bond Extend, but I'd be perfectly comfortable to go with the Type Bond 3, because there is a negligible, I see no difference in the line. All right, so let's get to spreading glue. We're going to go way over here to our setup table. All right, check it out. So I promise you 5 secrets. Now, when I say secrets, I mean techniques, tips that you might not know. They might be secret to you if you've not done this, but they're really not great grand secrets. So the number one, really, when you're going to glue up, is have a good, trustworthy surface to glue up on. So you want something, in this case, I want the surface underneath the glue up as dead flat as possible. I'm gluing up these large runs of pieces together here, and I don't want the table to have a slight twist to it. It would encourage this not to be flat and true. So if you have a good flat surface, that's really great. I get from this building salvage company, where they resell overshots or whatever, seconds. These solid core doors, like that's a solid core door there, and they're really amazing, pretty darn flat. And a lot of times they're selling them for $25. So just think, if you were to buy a piece of plywood, how much that would cost. So because it might have a handle hole cut in it, or the hinge already, it's just got a big dig in it. It's perfect for a shop bench. So if you have a place like that, go for it and grab it. And then I just clamp it into another bench top, and I've got a good working surface. Then I put this melamine particle board down on top of it, and that's a good kind of glue table. If I get any drips through there, I'll have no problem. Now, You want to, when you're clamping up your materials, you want to have the stock that you're working on up off the table. We're not going to put clamps on it and have it flat on the table with all the glue smearing out on the table, getting all over the underside. Plus, you might want to get some clamps underneath, so you want it up off the table to give you good working ability around there. Now, one way that I've done that quite a lot is to use a bar clamp. Here's the bar clamp, and these are awesome for gluing up large panels. I've used these many times. Really my old favorite for years, but these offer tremendous force. But one of the other aspects of this is not your typical pipe clamp. Pipe clamps are fine, but this is an I-beam type. What's really beautiful about these is that the I-beam is dead straight. And you can put the work, let me just put this down here where you can see it. You can set this on the table and get under the work, and then it's resting and it's getting aligned on that straight shelf. So I could have some underneath, and then I would come over the top with every other one. Now the reason you want to do that too with these I-beams is they have like an angled head on them. So some clamps will exert more pressure toward the beam that they're on. So they're kind of like, you know, they're not necessarily getting pressure over the top. So it's good practice to alternate if you have a clamp that may be hard to get even pressure with. Now, if I had a lot of these I-beams, I'd show you that. They're kind of expensive. So I want to show you another method that I'm going to use where I'll use other clamps that aren't cheap. No clamps are, right? But I'll use this method without the I-beam. So if you have I-beams, that's ideal. You can throw those across and then every other one across the top. Plus my I-beams are too long for this. They're really, all right. So what's the alternative? Well, you can machine your own support rails or bungs, whatever, just to sit under the stock. Now, I've got 3 of them here, and I trued them up, and I squared them up, got them straight and equal dimensions, so they're all like 1 7/8 inches. And then I put a piece of packing tape over the one surface that's going to be facing up. Packing tape is great for the surface because glue doesn't stick to it. So it'll keep it clean and it'll give us a nice even support. So if I space these out, these 3 out under my work, let's get this up here. Okay, I can see that it's touching all 3 spots. So rather than like using the I-beam as the rail, as the alignment aid, I'm using these supports. So I'm gonna, when I clamp, I'll be looking under to make sure they're all staying down. Now I could use alignment biscuits or dominoes in here, but with such a large glue up, I don't really need them because this is a wide surface. This is 2 5/8 right now. After I glue it up, I have this 1/8 inch extra that I'm going to end up re-flattening and then planing that last bit off to bring it to 2.5. So if they don't stay perfectly flat, I'm still okay. And the other thing is, I would only use the biscuits or the dominoes for alignment purposes during glue up. They do offer strength, but total overkill in this case because this is the ideal orientation for wood to get the maximum glue bond. All the grain, all the fibers are running parallel with each other. So all this beautiful side grain, one to another, are going to be clamped up. Boom, just like that. All right, so
Beautiful side grain.
it's a beautiful side grain. Don't you just think about that all the time?
Always.
All right, so we're gonna get the clamps going on this. Now, I'm using, whenever possible, cawls on the outside. This is fairly thick material, so I could have my clamps on here, but because depending on the thickness of the material, it determines how far apart your spacing will be for your clamps. So, you know, when you're going directly on the materials, if this was thinner, I'd have to put the clamps pretty darn close. But when I bring in these thick cauls, what I do is when I put that clamp pressure on, it radiates out the pressure in this way. So by having a thick caul like that, not only am I not going to dent my workpiece, potentially, but I'm increasing the pressure footprint of that clamp. It's going to be wider. So technically, the clamps can be a little further apart when you have a caul or wider beam on the outsides. It just helps distribute the pressure more evenly. All right, so have a flat table. That's secret number one. Get good true support system, one way or the other. And the next tip is rehearse your moves. Get all your clamps ready and have a little dress rehearsal, sans glue, right? So no glue. We're just gonna think about all of our moves. Okay, I've got my cauls in place. I've got my pieces here. I'm gonna lay them down this way, like this, and I just need it on one surface because I'm gonna roll this on here generously, and I'll have the glue on here, so I'll get it on quickly. I don't need to put it in this face because I'm just gonna flip it up like this. Okay, and then I got alignment lines already, and then I'll bring this up, and I'm just gonna throw one clamp on just to show you. I'm gonna use these clamps and get the pads right over the center-ish line of the 2.5. And I've found that these are putting really nice pressure right in the middle and distributing it beautifully. So as long as I keep it down on these rails, I'll be good to go. Now, I don't say I never use biscuits or dominoes for alignment. There are a lot of times when they're great, like if you don't have the luxury of being able to plane it again and you're in a certain situation where maybe you need the strength, go ahead and use dominoes and biscuits. I'm just thinking about what's really needed for this particular glue up. All right, so I've rehearsed my moves. That's key. My clamps are all sitting here. I'm ready to go. And I'm even thinking about, I've got 10 of them, so I'll get 5 to this side of center and 5 to that side. If I need to fill in, I've got some other clamps I'll throw in there. All right, so I also want to think about what we've already talked about is having the right glue. So we've already talked about that. We've got a glue that gives us plenty of open time. So we're going to use that. So I'm just going to get these laying on the rails nice. And it's going to get real here. We got
You didn't put any tape or wax on the cauls, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't on the cauls. No. Those are way outside the glue line. These are 1 3/4 thick. They're not near the glue. So no worries there. But sometimes that's a very good point. You would want to do that. All right, so check it out. I've got this roller all set up. It's just a little paint roller, and it's like about a 3/8 inch nap. It holds a lot of glue. It's not really that important what the nap is. I wouldn't go more than 3/8, but I like it because it puts it on fast and ample. But yeah, it feels a little thinner. And you don't want to do this on a hot day. You want to cool it off in your shop a little bit. We don't have that much trouble with overheat up here in New Hampshire, but here we go. There's no turning back. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes to get it assembled. All right, so I'm just going to get it rolled on there first. I'll come back and even it out if it's not perfect. We just did this with the workbench course last night. So if you are interested in building a workbench or that course, check it out on epicwoodworking.com. We're having a good time. It's that model, but the real deal, actually 7 feet
We
long.
were showing them last night how much lumber is in the shop right now because you're making 3 of these.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's a lot of
I've got a lot of sawdust.
And these
We've got to
long-
find somebody to take our shavings
Yeah.
locally here for.
Yeah, if anybody needs wood shavings, we have
So it has to be
Enough
someone
for
local. We don't.
Noah's Ark
We're
here.
not going to ship them or anything. Yeah, but that's okay. And we've got a lot of people use them for their animals.
We did have a source for a long time, but they closed up their farm, so.
Yeah, he started brewing beer instead. I guess the animals drove him to drink. Oh, a great local guy. Canterbury Ale Works. You can look it up online. Great guy, Steve Allman. He used to be in business making shaker oval boxes before he started the farming thing, and then now he's a microbrewer. All right, so there we go. Got it in there. Now we're going to flip them up, just like we rehearsed. And I've got my guideline up here. I can try to rub it in a little, but it's really hard to get a rub fit on this stuff. It's just so much area, and I can already feel it starting to grab. Extend and all. Like I know that it says it has the same time as Type Bond 3, but I don't know. It just feels a little grabbier to me. So I got to hurry up. I'm going to get that there. Move it in a little. Let's get the other call up here. And here we go. So I'm going to start in the middle to get this one and just kind of get the pressure out. So if this is the center, I'll go just a little off center to the right. So I'll get 5 over here. I'm just going to align these pads in the center. Now to keep them from, it's still kind of greasy, I'm going to just gently snug this one and see if it slides, anything slides. Our lines are looking good.
Do you keep an eye on the clock, Tom, or use a stopwatch to know how much time
No.
you have?
There's no, I don't, because I can't change anything. You know, I can only go as fast as I can go. Once I, you know, you could go through the motions and see if you're biting off more than you can chew. Like, because if I tried to do all 9 of these, it would have been a little stressful, right? So this way I'm doing 4. I did 5 last time, and then those 2 will join up after. Let's see, make sure everything's staying down. So you could use, you know, I think you may have seen sometimes people use these alignment beams and clamp like a sandwich a beam over. You could certainly do that too. I'm not thinking I'm going to need that.
Can you talk about the need to glue 2 sides versus just the one?
I always do that in joinery, like dovetails and mortise and tenons, definitely getting it on both surfaces. But here, you saw how much glue I had on there. And I mean, look at the squeeze out, ample. And I'm getting out the bottom too. So I have no concern that it's well distributed because the way I rolled it out as well. I mean, that was rolled out smoothly. So having the right applicator for the glue. Usually when I'm edge gluing, I'll only put it on one side anyway, and I'll do a rub fit, you know, where I'll just slide them back and forth, and that distributes it perfectly. So with the amount of squeeze out, I probably have too much glue in there, so no worries in that department.
Can you talk about your technique of how you'll trim the ends?
Oh, yeah, good question. With such large planks like this, you have to have a strategy there. So, I mean, obviously if you had a track saw, that would be nice, but it would have to cut, in this case, 2.5-inch thickness. So that's kind of tough. Or you could have a felder like I do, and that's probably how I'll cut the ones that I make off camera. Because if everyone had a felder, it would make my life very easy because I could just say, just go to your felder now. But no, I have to show you the other method. And so we're
We're privileged to have a felder.
we are. So we're gonna cut it. I mean, you could cut close even with a skill saw,
Circular saw?
a circular saw, right? That'll get you close to straight, but we need these really flat because we're end capping them. And so after that, what I've always used when in a pinch for something heavy like this and needing it to be a really true straight line, I would cut it close to the line and then use a router with a straight edge and a big flush cutter. So I might come from both directions to create a nice true end.
You
So
had 7 minutes.
we'll do that. 7? Oh, we're
Martin's
golden.
Keeping the time for you,
Who is?
Martin.
Martin, thanks. Hey, I should have looked, but I think you have close to 25 now. Assembly time.
So I've
You
got
get like
some questions
25.
about glue. Alan's curious, best way to get dried glue nubs off the clamps.
Oh,
And David says, do you do anything to protect your clamps from the squeeze out, especially clamps that are under the glue up?
yeah, that's a pain. Sometimes I'll put wax on them. Like those I-beams are the worst to me. All right, this is wanting to slip a little bit. So I'm gonna actually bring this inside a little. Snug that up. I gotta hurry up. I'm gonna use a K-body. There we go. That's beautiful.
Just too
Thing
strong.
of beauty. All right, let's get that one on the end. So I want to keep looking underneath too. Those look great. They're all sitting flat on that guide piece, so this is going well. Would I be honest and tell you if it wasn't?
I know you to be.
I don't know. How do you know? All right, here we go. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Good, squeeze out all the way. So this is like near the last clamps. You're hoping that it still has a thin enough viscosity to thoroughly squeeze out, right? So now I can come back and make sure all of these clamps are tight and make sure my spacing is good. I can move this one over a little bit. Just want to get it pretty even. And I could see from that squeeze out, it's good. So I would, to get back to that question, I would put wax on the clamps sometimes to easily pop the glue off after. I have put packing tape on the clamps in the middle area. Like I had some on that clamp, I don't know if you saw it. That keeps it off.
What if you forgot to do that and you have the glue on there?
Yeah, I just take a paint scraper. I suppose you could use you actually could use a heat gun and soften it up. That would work, and then chip it off. But the worst to me, it's like these K-bodies, look at that, it gets in these little fine teeth. So see that glue's there. I have seen people use in a drill, you can put a little wire brush and come in and hit it, aligning it with the teeth so you don't mess it up. But those are pain. So this is the one I try to remember to put the wax in because it'll pop out after easier if you can do that. All right, so that's pretty good. Let me double check they're all snug. Let me just take a quick look underneath. Oh, wow, yeah, we've got all these nice little drips coming through. So we've got tremendous pressure. That's plenty of glue. But rather than scrape it off with a paint scraper after it's fully hardened, I'm gonna wait till it gets to that kind of hard gel and it'll just peel off as I go. Sort of like these parts, these are harder now, but that's some scrapings from previous glue ups. I didn't have as much on there. But no worries, we're gonna clean that up. It's gonna thickness plane and it'll be beautiful. I've got another two here, just so you can get a visual of what it's gonna kind of look like back here at the bench.
Tom, roughly how far apart are those clamps? Michelle's concerned they might not have enough clamps.
Who is?
Michelle?
Well, I've got a lot of pressure here, and I'm after you leave, I was thinking of throwing a couple more in between. I could put more in between there, but these are probably, With the cauls on here, I'm not really that worried. They're like 8 inches apart. So I've got 1 3/4 thick cauls, and then I have another piece of 1 3/4 before I hit the first glue seam. So technically, there's, 3.5 inches of stock of soft maple, 2.5 inches high with pressure. So 8 inches apart is pretty good. All right, so check this out over here.
David's suggesting ammonia to help get the glue off.
Oh, that's a good idea. I've not tried that. So, all right, so here's one I did earlier, the same type. And then here's the 5 I did yesterday. Got that 5-piece. So this is gonna make up, this edge is gonna have to get final jointed one more time. I'm gonna clean this up, and then I've gotta dress these edges. I can probably run this one over the joiner lightly, and I'll skim plane the edge of that one till I get them dead accurate. And look at that. This is the first time I've seen this. But those edges will come together. Now, this will be a good place where I think I might use some dominoes, or you could use biscuits for alignment, because I've only got one seam. I won't be stressing out about the time. I'll get the glue on there nice, and I'll definitely get some heavy clamp pressure, because now there's not flexibility with all these layers. These are like solid laminated beams, right? Imagine how strong this would be up on edge. So check that out. This is gonna be the infield of my new bench. So it's 2.5 inches thick. And then out here, we're gonna flip up on edge, the dog slot 4 inches high, and then a 4-inch high rail in front of that. And the outside piece is also gonna be 4 inches. So the bench is gonna appear to be 4 inches thick. And then this is the leg system. If you haven't seen any of the other parts of the build, there we go. So this is a beastly leg. There's 2 like this, and then we have 2 stretchers that bolt together with bed bolts. So you have that nice like mortise and tenon bolted together joint. So this is going to be a beast of a bench, and that is the method for gluing up. I leave these on at like 2 or 3 hours minimum, because there's always something else to do. I'm not in that much of a hurry. I'm getting on to something else and just let them go and just get in the groove of cleaning them up. But this is actually the material that's going to make my bench. So I'm visualizing standing in front of you with this as my table, and I'm liking it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing, and feel free to comment. And also, if you want to check out some more of our content like building this bench, you can head over to epicwoodworking.com. We've got a membership over there, tons of courses. We'd love to see you more over there. So thanks again for hanging out with us a little bit in the shop. On behalf of the camera lady and myself, look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live. Good night, everybody.
Oh, goodness. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. See you next week.